right, guys, we're back with another video. If you haven't found out yet, this is Josh, and Josh has been on the podcast, so check out episode number 65, and he's done a video on shoulder health. But today, we're gonna go ahead and go over some special exercises for grapplers. So Josh, take it away.
Yes, sir. We're gonna go over some special strength exercises that you can do whether you're a wrestling athlete or a jiu-jitsu athlete. And these exercises in particular are pretty unique because they're not only gonna help you get stronger, you can modify them in a couple ways that we're gonna show you in a minute so that they're very sport specific, but they're also gonna help decrease your overall risk of injury. If you're less likely to get injured, you're more likely to train harder, you're more likely to win matches. So the first exercise we're gonna go over is gonna be the barbell Z press, which we have set up right here. There's a couple things you're gonna wanna be weary of when you're setting up the barbell Z press. For myself, I'm not a big fan of doing the barbell Z press out of a rack where you have to do this awkward reverse curl, then putting it in the front rack position, and then pressing overhead. I like to set it up off pins. If you don't have access to pins, try to find a way to either set a box on either side so you can easily get into that front rack position without having to do a reverse curl out of the rack. So we have it set up on pins here. I'm pretty short, so these are low pins. So you can leave the short jokes in the comments and I'll like all of them. But what we're gonna do is you'll see that when I roll the bar to myself, it's gonna bop me right in the chin. And that's how you know it's kind of at a good height for you. If it's too low, then you gotta round your upper back to get underneath the bar. And if it's too high, there is value from doing some partial range of motion Z presses, but that's a whole different video which we can get into later. But for right now, you want the bar to start at about chin level. From right there, you're gonna find an even grip on the bar. For myself, I use this rough part of the barbell and the smooth part of the barbell to find my grip, making sure that my grip is even on both sides. And then from right here, I'm gonna squeeze my upper back really, really, really tight. Almost like I'm trying to, all the muscles on my back, I'm trying to squeeze them all towards the center of my spine. Once I squeeze them all, I'm gonna drive my elbows and my shoulders down. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna create a very stable foundation for me to press overhead. If you don't do this, you really do increase your overall risk of injury while doing this exercise, and you can't lift that much weight, which when you post on Instagram isn't gonna get you that many likes or that many people in your DMs. So what you're gonna do, squeeze your upper back tight. Once we're here, I pull my elbows down and get in this strong front rack position. Now, it may be hard to see from the front, but if you see from the side, my elbows are actually slightly in front of the bar. I'm not getting set here, and I'll go over why in a second. So, getting set from right here, my chest is up, everything's locked in tight, I'm bracing my core. Then we're just gonna press overhead, stabilizing the position at the top before we bring it back down. Couple common mistakes I see on the barbell Z press is people not getting their elbows in front of the bar. Do we need them to be in this front squat position? No, we don't, but we for sure can't have them behind the bar. Here's what happens when our elbows are behind the bar. We end up pressing out in front, and that already just moving the bar that couple inches already feels like trash on my shoulders. You wanna have a nice, strong pressing position, chest up nice and tall, elbows in front of the bar. Pressing overhead, you'll notice how the bar is directly over the center of my spine. It's not out in front. I'm not leaning back like this. My chest is forward. My shoulders are locked in place. The bar is directly over my spine. And that's the traditional barbell Z press. You can use this exercise as a max effort exercise if you're running Phil DeRue's condensed conjugate system. You could also use this as a supplemental lift or for heavy efforts. If you're picking this exercise to use for your accessory work, I would stick within probably if you're working for strength, the 4 to 6 rep range. If you're working on shoulder hypertrophy, I wouldn't go any higher than for reps of about 10 or 12. After that point, you may want to pick a different exercise for shoulder restoration and hypertrophy. My jiu-jitsu family, here's a variation that you could use on the Z press that's very sport specific. If you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, you're well aware that you need to have a strong chest position. You need to be keeping your weight forward. You can't risk falling back like this and getting your guard passed. And this exercise, when we mix the butterfly guard with the Z press, has great transferability to jiu-jitsu. All the same principles are the same. Back tight, elbows in front of the bar, pressing straight overhead through lockout, stabilizing at the top, making sure that our core is braced tight. All that stuff is the same. Instead, we're taking our feet from being straight out in front, bringing our feet into this butterfly guard position, getting set, locking in our upper back.
Get up. Good.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Good. So, the reason why I like the butterfly guard approach, one, again, it keeps it specific, but it does increase the intensity of the lift. What I mean by that, it challenges you a little bit more because you have to maintain that posture, right? So as he's closing down his hip flexors, he's tightening up his body, and you're gonna wanna fall back. So that makes it even more challenging to press overhead. So again, get you in a sport specific position, but it allows you to increase the intensity of the movement based on the position of where you're sitting.
So the second exercise that I'm gonna show all you grapplers is gonna be the dumbbell pullover. Now, don't laugh, but this is an old school bodybuilding exercise, which is great for looking jacked and tan, as our boy Mark Smelly Bell would say, but it's also a great exercise for strengthening your lats when it comes to having strength that directly transfers to wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So what you're gonna need, at least for this variation that I'm a big fan of, is you're gonna need a bench. There's a couple different ways you can do this on the bench. I like to lie perpendicular to the bench so I can maximize the range of motion that I'm working with. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put your upper back balancing on the bench. You may need to go through a couple sets to figure out what spot feels best on your upper back, but you're gonna grab the dumbbell and you're gonna use a diamond grip, just like Dustin Diamond Poirier, am I right? So you got that diamond grip on the dumbbell. What you're gonna do is you're not gonna flare your elbows out like this. You're gonna tuck your elbows so that they're facing towards your feet. Your elbows and feet should generally be facing the same direction on this. You're gonna notice that at the start position, the dumbbell is over my chest, my hips, knees, and shoulders are all in line with each other. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slowly and in a controlled manner, drop my hips as I simultaneously drop the dumbbell behind my head. What this is gonna do is this is gonna add a big stretch to my lats right here. There's a lot of eccentric loading that's going on right here. There's a big stretch which will help improve in T-spine mobility and overhead mobility. And then from this position, again, with control, I'm gonna elevate my hips as I pull the dumbbell back over my head and on top, over the top of my chest again. That's gonna be one complete rep. As you get more familiar and comfortable with this exercise, you'll find that you'll be able to work through a greater range of motion. If you're just starting out, and this is as far as you can go and stay out of pain, just stick with that. That's all you gotta do. You'll be able to work through a greater range of motion as you get more experience with this exercise. This exercise is a little different than the Z press. I wouldn't suggest you use this exercise in particular as a max effort exercise, but you can use this as a supplemental lift and as an accessory exercise. For strength, you can work through several sets of 6 to 8 reps, and then for hypertrophy, you really want to get a big stretch in the lats to grow those lats, to grow that wingspan. You can do sets of 10 to 15.
So now transitioning over into more sport specific, go ahead, Josh is gonna go ahead and get into that bridge position here. So now he's bridged high, glutes are on, posterior chain is locked in isometric tension. From there, he's gonna go ahead and bring the dumbbell back behind his head, right? Hold that position. So he'll hold that in a static position. Then from there, he's gonna drive it back up and squeeze everything. So he's gonna squeeze his lats. He's gonna go ahead and squeeze his pecs here too as well. Hips are still on. As he comes down, he's gonna go from a static to a dynamic. So he's gonna hold that position and then drive up fast and hold, right? So again, it keeps it more sport specific in that positioning. And again, you're not getting a full stretch on this. It's not from a hypertrophy standpoint, but you are gonna gain some strength, and you're also gonna gain some stability here too as well. You definitely wanna go a little bit heavier than what you would do on a traditional pullover. So I would like to go, if you're gonna do your regular pullovers at about 80 pounds, you're gonna go up to about 100, 120, maybe even 130s. Because you're going from a static position to a dynamic, you wanna work straight concentric. You only wanna do about 3 to 5 repetitions with this. This is really more for, again, strength and strength endurance. All right, guys, so there you have it. 2 special exercises and the sport-specific version, and then the general specific version. Josh, tell them where they can find you at, again, if they don't already know.
You guys can find me at Joshua Settlage on TikTok, Instagram, basically everywhere else where I'd want you to find me. That's JOSHUASETTLAGE. You guys can follow me on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, Settlage Strength the BJJ Strength Coach. You guys can check out my website, settlagestrength.com.
And if you want to find out more details on my training, be a part of the mentorship, which Josh, you were on there too as well, right?
I am.
Check it out, links down below. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification. Make sure you follow this man here. This young man's gonna be something special in the industry. Just stay tuned. See you again next time. Peace.